The Silent House, submitted by a viewer named Emily, who claims that this chilling tale is 100% real. When Emily and her husband Mark bought their first home, it felt like a dream come true. The house was a beautiful old Victorian-style property on the outskirts of a small town. It was spacious, affordable, and came with a big yard for their dog, Daisy. But from the very first day, something felt off. The previous owners had left in a hurry, leaving behind furniture and even personal belongings. A cracked mirror hung in the hallway, its edges wrapped in ornate silver. When Emily asked the realtor about the house's history, she brushed it off, saying only, "They moved to the city for work. Happens all the time." The first night in the house was uneventful, but Daisy acted strangely. She wouldn't enter the living room and would growl at the hallway mirror. Emily chalked it up to the stress of moving, but by the second night, the oddities started piling up. Emily woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of creaking footsteps. At first, she thought it was Mark walking down the hallway, but when she turned over, she found him sound asleep beside her. Gripping the edge of the blanket, she held her breath, listening. The footsteps grew louder, stopping right outside their bedroom door. Daisy, who usually barked at the slightest noise, whimpered and hid under the bed. Emily's heart raced as the doorknob twisted slowly, but the door didn't open. The next morning, Mark laughed it off, saying the house was old and probably settling. Emily wasn't so sure. Over the next week, things escalated. Doors slammed shut on their own. Lights flickered despite being brand new. One night, Emily came home from work to find all the cabinets in the kitchen wide open, their contents neatly stacked on the floor. She tried to rationalize it, blaming an earthquake or even Daisy, but deep down, she knew it didn't make sense. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Emily was in the living room, scrolling through her phone, when she noticed something move in the corner of her eye. She looked up and saw the hallway mirror vibrating slightly. It wasn't a jolt or a crack, just a subtle hum, as though something inside the glass was alive. Suddenly, a faint voice whispered her name. "Emily." She froze, staring at her reflection, which now seemed off. The Emily in the mirror wasn't moving the same way she was. It tilted its head when she didn't, and its eyes were darker, almost hollow. Terrified, she screamed for Mark. When he ran into the room, the mirror shattered. Shards of glass rained down, but the frame remained intact. In the center of the now empty frame, Emily swore she saw the faint outline of a shadowy figure standing completely still. Mark dismissed it as stress, but Emily couldn't sleep that night. The house felt alive, its very walls humming with an energy she couldn't ignore. They called a priest to bless the house, hoping it would bring peace. The priest performed the ritual and left, but as he walked away, he turned back to Emily and said something that chilled her to the bone. "You might have calmed it for now, but this house, it doesn't want you here." Emily and Mark moved out a month later. The house has been empty ever since, its windows staring out like hollow eyes, waiting for its next victims.